The formula for success. Like the formula for failure, the formula for success is easy to follow. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. Now, here is an interesting question worth pondering. How can we change the errors in the formula for failure into the disciplines required in the formula for success? The answer is by making the future an important part of our current philosophy. Both successes and failure involve future consequences, namely the inevitable rewards or unavoidable regrets resulting from past activities. If this is true, why don't more people take time to ponder the future? The answer is simple. They are so caught up in the current moment that it doesn't seem to matter. The problems and the rewards of today are so absorbing to some human beings that they never pause long enough to think about tomorrow. But what if we develop a new discipline? To take just a few minutes every day to look a little further down the road. We would then be able to foresee the impeding consequences of our current conduct. Armed with that valuable information, we would be able to take the necessary action to change our errors into new success-oriented disciplines. In other words, by disciplining ourselves to see the future in advance, we would be able to change our thinking, amend our errors, and develop new habits to replace the old. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. One of the exciting things about the formula for success is that the results are almost immediate. As we voluntarily change daily errors into daily disciplines, we experience positive results in a very short period of time. When we change our diet, our health improves noticeably in just a few weeks. When we start exercising, we feel a new vitality almost immediately. When we begin reading, we experience a growing awareness and a new level of self-confidence. Whatever new discipline we begin to practice daily will produce exciting results that will drive us to become even better at developing new disciplines. The real magic of new disciplines is that they will cause us to amend our thinking. If we were to start today to read the books, keep a journal, attend the classes, listen more and observe more, then today would be the first day of a new life leading to a better future. If we were to start today to try harder and in every way make a conscious and consistent effort to change subtle and deadly errors into constructive and rewarding disciplines, we would never again settle for a life of existence. Not once we have tasted the fruits of substance. There are those who would lead us to believe that we do not need the disciplines in order to change our lives, that all a person needs is a little motivation. But motivation is not how people change their lives. To change a life, we must first change our thinking habits. If a person is a fool and becomes motivated, he merely becomes a motivated fool. To change ourselves from how we are to how we want to be, we must begin with those few basics that affect the way we think. We can greatly change the course of our lives by spending more time and making a greater conscious effort to refine our personal philosophy. The exciting thing is that we will not have to change all that much for the results to quickly change for us. Discipline tend to multiply. All disciplines affect each other. Every new discipline affects not only the discipline that we have already begun to practice, but also the discipline we will soon adopt. Everything affects everything else. Some things affect us more than others, but everything we do has an effect on everything else we do. Not to think so is naive. This is where those little subtle errors can come from not knowing the effect that our errors are having on our lives over an extended period of time. There is a tendency for each of us to give ourselves license to continue an undisciplined act. We tell ourselves, this is the only area in which I allow myself to be weak. But this type of thinking is the beginning of delusion, for each undisciplined act tends to open the floodgates leading to other breakdowns in the chain of self-discipline. The license we give to ourselves to wander even momentarily outside the boundaries of self-control establishes a subtle tendency, and the passing of time will eventually cause other self-imposed disciplines to erode. Since every discipline affects every other discipline, we must be careful with all of them. We cannot allow ourselves the luxury of indulging any error day in and day out. Remember, every liberty we give ourselves to continue with an error has an effect on all of our other good habits, which in time has an effect on our future performance. But here is the positive side. Every new discipline affects all the other disciplines. Every new discipline that we impose on ourselves will affect the rest of our personal performance in a positive way. The key is to keep looking for every small discipline we can find that will cause us to refine our thinking, amend our errors, and improve our results. We must continue looking for even the most insignificant of those errors in judgment that could be converted into a new discipline. Once the discipline cycle is started, our errors will begin to feel the effect, leaving tangible rewards in their wake as they make a hasty retreat.